Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Voiceless podcast, episode 51. The same amount of times as Seth Rollins hurt an opponent. Fun fact for the week.
It's actually not a joke either.
No, well, you see, there's the high profile injuries that we already know, which just one just happened on Sunday, and the others were all in the Indies, but they pay them off so they wouldn't say anything, So you have that. And what are we going to do about that? Do we have to go hurt 51 other people to make this episode relevant, culturally relevant?
I don't know. I think if his fanboys keep covering for him, then, maybe it'll be 100 more people he hurts before they finally say, hey, maybe we got to stop that.
I bet you that fat guy that he did that moonsault off of, I think he's the cover-up.
You remember? Could be.
Yes. You know who I'm talking about, right?
I do, from the indie show where he did the running moonsault off the fat guy, the fat fan.
Yeah. Rumor has it that's Big Mark's cousin, Jeffrey.
No, it is. You're absolutely right.
So that's not just a rumor. That's a fact.
It's a fact.
Oh, dear. We need to get Big Mark on whenever he's back from college. He's going away to college this weekend. As soon as he gets back, we need to ask him that because Jeffrey would be a hell of an interview. But anywho, we joke, we kid, we're serious. It's episode 51 in Area 51. And wow, since my drunken-filled vacation made us skip a week, we're back and we have a lot of stuff to put in 1 hour. So we're not going to do what Raw does and give you a shitty opening. We're going to give you a fun one. And that is our tweet of the week, which is a good one, in my opinion.
Yeah, the tweet of the week is at Stutzy. Brad Stutz, I believe. He's the booker of CWF Mid-Atlantic.
Who averages 10 viewers per show.
He works with Omega Wrestling and other indies in the North Carolina, Virginia area as an announcer as well. And he seems to be a well-liked guy amongst the marks, the super smarks that, go from town to town watching all these indie shows because they don't have jobs. I don't know. Or girlfriends or, dogs or whatever.
Sounds right.
Okay, so this is what he said, and I quote, "I'm sorry. I'm really not. It's my fault. It's not my fault. But Smackdown Live, since the draft, is the worst wrestling show on television," unquote.
I wonder why. Why would he think something like that?
The worst TV show of wrestling since the brand split. Now, if he had said SmackDown was maybe the worst before the brand split,
that's fair.
That's a fair consideration.
Sure.
After the brand split, it's easily one of the best shows.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. And it's not just because you have, good matches, you have decent storylines, you have new players vying for the titles, you have new titles, you have never mind, I was going to say titties, but I put mine away for the winter. And Nikki Bella's back, speaking of, and then you got Ambrose and Ziggler getting high profile segments, and Bryan and Shane is just a difference, unlike Steph and Trips. So there's a lot of things going for it. It's new, it's fresh, it's great. It's what NXT was a year and a half to 2 years ago. Something just different that people needed to get invested to. I mean, shit. I know we're not going to talk a lot about SmackDown, but fucking look what happened with the ratings. They were up 12%.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be very interesting to watch as football season begins, how Raw does and how they do in comparison to SmackDown.
Isn't that funny how that's going to work out? Monday Night Football has been dominating ratings for 20 years. Meanwhile, Tuesday doesn't have nothing. So they're going to be all alone. And all the summer reality shows are ending. There are the fall drama and sitcoms, but honestly, Tuesday nights is not a high-profile night for dramas or sitcoms.
No, it's not. I'd love to see SmackDown beat them in the ratings.
You know what? If they do, it'll take a year.
Oh yeah, it won't happen right away. But anything to get these writers off their ass to make them write a better show to make Vince McMahon realize that, Raw is just a very weak brand right now?
It's getting better, though. It's getting better by the week, which is good. And that's all we need is the things to get better, whether it's at a big pace, at a slow pace, what have you. As long as you're improving, that's what you should strive for. Not this, complacency bullshit, which is what Raw gets themselves into once every 3 years. And it sucks. Why do you think the brand split happens? Because it was just so much of the same garbage over and over again. And yeah, there's been some good moments, great matches, good, whatever. But as a whole, it was not good. And the brand splits, well, at least for SmackDown, has been a revelation.
Yeah.
And you talk about a revelation, and revolutions is a very important topic. And you know what? 2 weeks ago, Brad, you gave Dean Ian Petro a challenge, and you told him to talk about why he hates Hulk Hogan. I hate Hulk Hogan because he ruined Impact Wrestling, at least in my opinion. So, but I wasn't alive for Hulkamania. I was born in '93, so I was born when wrestling sucked. Believe it or not.
So you were born like
93.
Couple of years. Oh,
no, you're funny. You're funny. So no. Here's what we're gonna do. 2 weeks ago, Brad put Dean up to the challenge to say why he hates Hulk Hogan, and we all know Brad's a big Hulk Hogan mark, and this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be very, very interesting.
I'm looking forward to it.
So, and Dean's he's no mark, and we all know that, and neither are you, neither are me, which is why Seth Rollins is an evil human being, and we all know that. But before we get into that later, we're gonna figure out why Dean hates Hulk Hogan in this week's run-in.
All right, Brad. You want it? You got it. So you are a Hulkamaniac. Well, I feel sorry for you. This is mostly a reflection of Hulk Hogan the character, although Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea the man, does bleed over into it a little bit. So we have to go back to 1980. Hulk Hogan comes into the WWF. He's a bad guy. Freddie Blassie's his manager, and he's a badass. He's beating everybody. I witnessed it at the Civic Arena when he picked up Andre the Giant for a suplex, held him there for 10 seconds solid while people took pictures and dropped him.
That was in Pittsburgh, by the way.
They had their classic encounter at Shea Stadium. Andre came out on top, of course. All well and good. So Hogan moves on to the AWA, and they really don't know what to do with him. They should have actually made him champion over Nick Bockwinkel at the time. But then he gets some notoriety, does a little Thunder Lips thing in Rocky 3, which is fine too. I still watch Rocky 3. I'm entertained by it. And then he came back. Now, Bob Backlund lost the WWF title to the Iron Sheik. Does he get a rematch? No. All of a sudden, Backlund is putting over Hulk Hogan. They even acknowledged his previous existence, which was unheard of at the time. He doesn't have Freddie Blassie around anymore. Oh, wow, okay. And all of a sudden, Hulkamania is born. And there's your problem. Now I understand the 80s was a time, it was an era where the good guy had, 90% of the time, the good guy wins the feud. But man, seriously? And it was the same thing every time. Hulk comes out like a house of fire. Bad guy takes advantage. Hulks up. And then all of a sudden is impervious to pain. And then he hits the big boot. And then he hits the leg drop of doom. And it's 1, 2, 3 over feud after feud after feud. It was boring. It was rote. I wanted to see Hulk Hogan get beat. And then there was the sidekick, Paul Orndorff. Brutus Beefcake, Tugboat, before he became Typhoon, before he became the Shockmaster. All these guys that turned on Hogan. And the funny part is, it was all rooted in truth. As I started to realize, it was all portrayed in WWF television as jealousy of Hulk Hogan, but it was him being an egomaniac. And that was entirely true. What Bobby Heenan was saying about that was true. Yes, Hulk Hogan revolutionized the business of wrestling. He took it mainstream, and I won't deny his place in that. But it was his ego. It was his ego. And then the whole program with Randy Savage. You know what? Let's think about what happened on that turn. Elizabeth gets bumped during a match, and Hogan takes her to the back and basically abandons Savage. And Savage is the bad guy? Yeah. And then there's, who's going to beat Hulk Hogan? Wow, we can't have very many people doing that now, can we? Ultimate Warrior got a clean pinfall victory over him at WrestleMania 6, but, he had to come back for the spotlight again, didn't he? Win WrestleMania 7 over Sergeant Slaughter. And what really solidified this for me was WrestleMania 8. It was supposed to be Hogan and Flair. But then there was the whole, Hogan's going to retire. And so they changed the match to Hogan and Sid Justice and Savage and Flair. And for the first time since WrestleMania 2, the WWF title was not defended in the main event at WrestleMania. Savage and Flair, Hulk, you're talking Randy Savage and Ric Flair for the title is relegated to the mid-card of the event because they had to put Egomaniac at the end. And then, imagine this, he didn't retire. He comes back for WrestleMania 9 for the most absurd title change in history, defeating Yokozuna in seconds after he beats Bret Hart. Does Bret Hart get a match? No. And let's look then at some of the people that Hogan didn't work with. Jake Roberts, Kurt Hennig. Why didn't he work with them? He didn't think they were good enough. He didn't want to put anybody over. All of a sudden, Hulk Hogan has creative control of his character. And then he goes to WCW. And it's even worse. His first match, he wins the championship over Ric Flair. His first effing match. He gets more sidekicks. Oh, yeah, he does. Dave Sullivan, the brother of Kevin Sullivan, except he's EVAD. And how about this for audacity? His theme song is, I Want to Be a Hulkamaniac. Are you kidding? And the announcers are continuing to put Hogan over and continuing to put Hogan over, and something funny happened. He started getting booed, and rightfully so. He needed to be taken down. And okay, the heel turn with the NWO was kind of a cool thing. But then he was still Hulk Hogan. It was just that it was out there now, him playing the role of the egomaniac. But that's what he was. That's what he was for his entire duration of wrestling. He comes back in the WWF and he gets cheered a little bit in the match with The Rock at WrestleMania, and all of a sudden you put the title belt on him? Are you kidding me? You put the title back on him? At that point when he could barely move in the ring, and then he did the impossible. He made me like Shawn Michaels because I hated Shawn Michaels. But then, he changed that up too. He's supposed to go over Michaels. Michaels is supposed to get the win back, but Hulk's, no, I don't want that to happen. So good. Shawn Michaels put him in his place where he belongs. He has been driven by nothing more than his WWF created, and he has held down far too many wrestlers over the years. Randy Savage never got a victory over Hulk Hogan, and that is absolutely ridiculous. Roddy Piper never got a complete title victory over Hogan. He'd get wins, but he never got the title. He wouldn't give matches to guys like, work programs with Bret Hart. He wouldn't work programs with Jake the Snake Roberts. He wouldn't work programs with Mr. Perfect. He never worked WrestleMania with Ric Flair. He's overrated. And I tell you what, people say John Cena's the next Hulk Hogan. I ain't crazy about the John Cena character and the Super Cena thing. But I'll say this much about John Cena. John Cena can go in the ring. John Cena leaves it in the ring. John Cena is concerned about performing for the fans. John Cena just had AJ Styles go over. Would Hulk Hogan have ever put AJ Styles over? Ask yourself that question.
He put over Billy Kidman in WCW.
Put AJ Styles over clean.
Oh, yes, Dean, he would.
If they were both wrestling in their prime, the answer is hell no.
Sorry, it's just going on too long.
Hulk Hogan does not deserve the love and admiration of the Hulkamaniacs. He never has, and he never will. What do you think about that, Mr. Hulkamaniac?
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Oh, shut up. No, see, I have no dog in this fight, so rebuttal, because I didn't watch Hogan. I was too young.
No, look, I mean, I would suggest that Dean spends a little time catching up on the Bruce Pritchard show on MLW Radio. He goes over a lot of the Hogan era. Vince McMahon was the one that protected Hulk Hogan. It was not Hulk Hogan. Bruce Pritchard will tell you he was in charge of booking. Hulk Hogan didn't once ask to go over a guy or to be protected against a guy. That's what Vince wanted because business was booming. It was huge. It was a massive success. It created the WrestleMania era. And instead of going out of business, the company thrived to where it is today. I mean, this was huge mainstream appeal. It was huge business, as Dean knows. And he wasn't holding anyone back. I mean, he put people over, absolutely. Look at his WCW run. As he got older, he absolutely did that. But he was the face of the company. People wanted to see him win. Now, granted, it was a different time, but the white meat babyface, they wanted to see Hulk Hogan win. And frankly, people like Savage were B+, 1B players. They weren't a Hulk Hogan. When Bret Hart had the title, business didn't go up. They had to put the title back on Hulk. Now, the reason that Hulk Hogan had the title, and he won it against Yokozuna after Yokozuna beat Bret Hart, is because they were going on a European tour, and they wanted Hulk to have the belt for the European tour. They didn't want a heel to have the belt. Now, that's something Bruce Pritchard, who was booking at the time, will tell you himself. So, again, I would say, listen to Bruce's show. They never had any issues with Hulk. He never asked to go over anybody. He never refused to work with anybody. So you may hear a lot of rumors, but I always like to hear it from the horse's mouth.
Now, it is inaccurate to say that Hulk did not have an ego. That's absolutely true.
Okay, Hulk has an ego. You have an ego. Yeah. I have an ego. LeBron James has an ego. Michael Jordan has an ego. Wayne Gretzky has an ego. Sid Crosby has an ego. What a stupid statement. I mean, what does that mean? Every famous superstar, rich guy, whatever you want to call it, they all have egos. Successful people have egos to a degree. So, yes, I'm not denying that. That is kind of obvious.
Well, I mean, so you're meaning to tell me that, and while Bruce made the decisions, that Hulk never once said, is he doing the job for me in that or WCW, when it was him, Nash, and Hall calling the shots to begin with. Bischoff and Russo weren't writing dick as far as I'm concerned. All right. Well, I mean, even if Bischoff and Russo had the idea for the NWO, you're really saying that Hulk didn't book anything? I highly doubt that.
He did not book anything. There's no evidence. I mean, you can speculate all you want. There's no evidence of that. And I'm telling you what evidence we do have is Bruce Pritchard, in charge of booking, telling you during the Hulk Hogan era that this did not happen. He just went over this on a podcast. Listen to his podcast on MLW Radio.
Okay. All right. I'll stop before you get heated.
No, I'm not heated. I'm just saying. I speak in facts, right? We all have opinions, or we all want to perceive things a certain way, right? But at the end of the day, we look at facts, and I'm getting it straight from the Booker's mouth, not internet folklore or hearsay. He said, she said, telephone, tell a friend, tell a wrestler. I'm getting it straight from the source.
Okay.
Yeah, but even more. Look, if he has an ego, I don't care. I don't care if he's a raging fucking prick. I don't. He could be. You know what? Dean could be right. Maybe he has an ego the size of North Carolina, and I don't care. I don't listen to music because I think the singer is a good person, and I certainly don't become fans of wrestlers because I think they're a good person.
Well,
that's for fairy tale bullshit. That's not for I don't do that. I'm not the moral police here. I'm not a judger of other people. So I was entertained by Hulk Hogan, the character, the entertainer. But as a person, who cared? I never thought about that.
It's funny you say that you think Randy Savage is a 1B player.
He is. That was a fact.
And that's why, and hey, like I said, I don't have an opinion.
Randy Savage wasn't even originally booked to win that tournament at WrestleMania, to win the championship to begin with. It was going to be Ted DiBiase. They knew Randy Savage was good, but he was a 1B player, and that's okay. I mean, that's not an insult. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's where he was.
So
Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah.
He was never a 1A player, ever. But Jake had a character and didn't need the title. Would I have loved to see Jake win an Intercontinental Championship? Hell yeah. What about Roddy Piper? Yes. But their characters, they didn't need it. And they weren't 1A players. There's only one Hulk Hogan. He's the greatest of all time. And that's my opinion.
Now, for the current viewers at home, you just named off those 4 people. Can you compare them to current stars now in the sense of booking, popularity, etc., mainstream success? I mean, obviously, if you want to have Cena be Hogan, that's the obvious one. But who are the other 3 in this era that you can compare? Because again, that was in the late '80s, mid to late '80s to early '90s. Not a lot of wrestling fans today are still wrestling fans. You know what I mean? So do the comparison if you can.
Yeah, I mean, there is. You look today, the only one you can compare Hulk Hogan to is a John Cena. But at the end of the day, there is no comparing Hulk Hogan. John Cena is the head of a company at the time where it's as boring as it's ever been in recent history. And attendance is down and ratings are down. I mean, it's not even a question. Hulk Hogan was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Are you freaking kidding me?
That's right.
Can you imagine a wrestler being on the cover of Sports Illustrated 30 years ago? Come on.
I know. Well, I mean, you have someone like Bray Wyatt today, kind of like Jake, didn't need the belt. And then while people latched on to this guy, Daniel Bryan wasn't supposed to win the title anyway at WrestleMania. So technically, that career path is very similar. As far
Do you remember when Hulk Hogan put over the fucking Genius during his big title run in the WWF?
Nope.
Lanny fucking Poffo won on Saturday night's main event, I believe it was, by countouts. He beat Hulk. Lanny Poffo, who was essentially a mid-card jobber. that was Randy Savage's brother.
Yeah, I know who Lanny is, but yeah, okay. Wow.
Come on. I mean, he let Billy fucking Kidman beat him. He let Lex Luger beat him. He let Sting beat him. He let all these guys in WCW beat him. Come on. Goldberg got his big rub beating Hogan. Come on. They were doing what was best for business. Vince was making the decisions that were best for business. He protected Hulk, and I don't blame him. He was a cash cow.
Yeah, that's right.
And they needed him. This was a time, again, where they were close to going out of business.
Yep.
They needed him.
Yeah.
And every time they put the belt back on him, business went back up. That's a fact.
Yeah. Well, numbers say that's exactly true. So, moving on.
But no, seriously though, I do want to thank Dean because I was very curious to what his thoughts were, And you know what? It's okay that we don't agree. It's okay that we have different favorite wrestlers, or I like this and he likes that. We all have different flavors of ice cream we like. It's Baskin Robbins, people. 32 flavors. I like chocolate. You like vanilla. Who cares?
Well, you know what? If you don't like Seth Rollins, you should go to hell.
Or, he may send you there the way he's working in the ring these days.
Oh, yeah. I cannot wait to get to that. So, I cannot wait. All right, NXT TakeOver. We're going to go through TakeOver Brooklyn and SummerSlam pretty quickly. Match of the night for TakeOver Brooklyn. I'm torn between the tag team match, the women's match, and the main event. Just for pure aura around it, I give it to the main event because they put on a better story to me. But the tag team match was fucking awesome. Those guys put on a show. And I don't think they kicked out of one finisher until the very end, which is cool.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of not kicking out of finishers. I mean, that's something that should be done at a special match at WrestleMania, not not any other time.
I agree. But yeah, give me I'll make a tie between the main event and the tag team match.
Oh, the main event of the night for me, the match of the night was the tag team match.
Okay. Yeah, see, I it's up there. Gargano and Ciampa can fucking go, and Dawson and what's his dick, Wilder, Dash and Dawson, are gonna be just as good as American Alpha, if not better, when it all comes down to a head. When the careers are over.
They're gonna be really good.
Yeah.
They're such a throwback tag team of Arn and Ole or Arn and Tully, whatever. And they just have that throwback sort of 80s tag team feel. I really like it. Yeah,
they're fantastic. What'd you think of Ember Moon? Her finisher's out of this world, man. That shit's cool. As long as the opponent can take it well. Because if Billie Kay wasn't in position, that can be really fucked up. So that they have to worry about that.
Yeah, definitely. I liked her energy and athleticism. I did. So I think she'll be a good addition. And the finisher's cool. She's just gotta, that could look really bad if they don't hit it just right.
Yep, and that's another non-homegrown talent for NXT.
Yeah, that's all they do. It's not a developmental. They're not developing anything except other people's talents.
It's WCW. No, it's WWE.
It's NXTNA. It's Indie NXT. That's what it is.
Yeah. It's TNA and Ring of Honor with money. So Samoa Joe did fracture his jaw, and you saw when Nakamura was celebrating, the ref threw up an X, and that was legit because they wouldn't throw up an X after a match is over to sell anything. It doesn't make sense. So that was legit. He said that he relocated it and he'll be fine, but you won't see him wrestle at this set of tapings for sure. But where did he fracture his jaw? Was that last Kinshasa too much?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. It was a Kinshasa, that last one popped him, and you could see Joe react to it and kind of grab his jaw when it happened, and that was definitely it.
Yeah,
and I knew right then he had gotten hurt, and they gave the X sign or whatever, and were attending to him, and people were like, "Oh, is it a work? Is it blah blah blah?" No, it did seem like a work to me, but it isn't. He actually tweeted himself that he has a fractured jaw.
Yeah, and it's funny because Shinsuke is very, very clean. He doesn't injure people, so that was shocking to see, especially how the way he wrestles. Speaking of, then the entrances between Rude and Nakamura. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. It's showmanship. It makes them special. Like, people will not, if you were there at Brooklyn, you will not forget the violin that was playing before Nakamura came out. And when Bobby Roode was on top of a fucking pedestal 20 feet high and came down like a god from the heavens coming in, like, that shit's, I like that stuff. That's what wrestling should be about. Not straight shoot style indie garbage, have a little bit of entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. Not everyone has to work like Shawn Michaels in the ring. And, frankly, the other parts besides fake fighting are just as important if not more important, in getting over in this business and being a star. I mean, that's just the reality, right? So when you've got a superstar entrance, and that's what Nakamura has, that's what Bobby Roode has.
Yeah.
And that's what I think maybe Finn needs to tweak a couple things. He's got a superstar entrance as well. Okay? When you have a superstar entrance like that, that is huge to you getting over and being seen as a star. Because the first impression is you come out, this guy is a star. He's important. He's someone I want to watch.
Undertaker, Stone Cold, The Rock, what have you, Triple H.
Hulk Hogan, Real American.
Yeah.
Brother.
But yeah, those guys mastered the entrance, whether it was their entrance music or their entrance itself. I mean, Undertaker has the best entrance in pro wrestling history because it's so synonymous with him, and you look forward to it. That gong is just the benchmark for what the Undertaker symbolizes. You know, in his debut in Survivor Series in 1990, fucking badass. Just the entrance is so important, and they knocked that out of the park in my opinion.
Yep, most definitely. AA plus on that.
Yeah. So your overall thoughts on the show? The women did very, very well. I was shocked to see James Storm not debut, but he may soon enough. I'm really shocked Nakamura won the title that fast. I don't know if I agree with it, but apparently, well, my opinion doesn't matter.
Well, I thought here's the puzzler to me, okay? And it looks like, Samoa Joe will be making his main roster debut somewhat soon.
Maybe.
But Jesus, why the fuck is Nakamura in his mid to late 30s and the NXT developmental fucking champion?
They want a name to help the brand grow more. I mean, hell, they're on an Australian for a few months.
So then let's call it what it is. This is not a developmental company. This is a touring wrestling brand like Raw and SmackDown.
Yes.
Because that's essentially what you're doing.
Well, I think it's different, it has its niche. Its niche are the marks.
Its niche really is kind of like the real Smarky fan.
Yeah, it really is. But NXT's not a bad product by any means. It's great.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But they've got to. It gets to be a certain point. In Bobby Roode and Nakamura should have been on the main roster yesterday.
Yeah,
Seriously, Joe. There's no excuse. Samoa Joe too.
Yeah, well, really nothing you can do except for just deal with it. And I love NXT for what it is. I do.
We've got to have those fucking Jinder Mahal segments, so we can't have those guys.
All right. Well, moving on to, as you said it, what show they should have been on. SummerSlam. Okay. Started off with Baron Corbin's promo, came onto the pre-show set and said that he put Kalisto on his couch with his wife and he didn't show up. And he said he's going to put him there permanently. I'm finally glad they're letting Corbin. I know you are because you're half chub. I like that they're letting Corbin go because he can talk on the mic, and he's not even talking on the mic. He's just being himself because he's a true douchebag.
Oh, I'm at least 50% erect.
I believe it.
No, I think, this promo was exactly the kind of thing they should be doing with him. This was awesome.
It was.
Really came off really good with this promo. I loved it. They've got to do something with him. Look, if he's able to compete, get him in the ring and give him a squash match or something. SmackDown doesn't have any squash matches.
Yep.
Give him a squash match. Do something with him to keep him fresh and get him in the ring. But love this promo.
Oh, yeah, because, who doesn't need 1,500 Braun Beef Stroganoff fucking enhancement matches?
Okay, so here's my challenge to Dean I Am Petro.
Oh?
Dean, you don't like my boy Hulk, and that's okay. But I want to know, what is your hot take, my challenge to you for next week, on Baron Corbin?
Ooh!
Oh, I'm waiting. I can't wait.
Interesting. Very interesting. I'm excited to hear that. If I know he's moving his boy into college this week, so I'll let him know tonight. I'll let him know that the challenge is up. Sasha, okay. Here's my thing, right? I'm getting mad. I'm readjusting my chair because I had to, pass gas and because of frustration. I was playing, my friends and I have a Madden football league, right? And I was in the Super Bowl, okay? I was the underdog story, man. I went to the top. So in the Super Bowl, I guess our best player in our league, there's five of us. He's amazing. He's excellent at the game. I think I'm okay. So I'm in the Super Bowl, and I'm watching the first match of Takeover because Super SummerSlam. It's carrying over. We're in the fourth quarter. I'm down 3, and I look over at Sasha and Charlotte do their thing, and I see that fucking spot in the corner where Charlotte, fucking big doofus, dropped Banks right on her fucking head for the second time, mind you.
Sasha and Charlotte was just not a great match, and probably the worst match I've seen them have. And frankly, Charlotte should immediately stop all top rope moves.
Yep.
She can't hit a moonsault, and she can't hit anything off the goddamn top rope. So maybe it's time before you kill someone. You're like the female Seth Rollins. Maybe you should consider cutting that shit out.
Yeah.
I thought, honest to God, it was like the first time she dropped her and her legs hit the rope and her neck kind of snapped and she landed on like her back of her neck head area. And then the second bump where she did the reversal into a Hurricane Rana and Sasha landed directly on her fucking head. And I was like, Jesus Christ. And then she looked like she was out of it for minutes afterwards. So, Jesus. I mean, this was just like so unnecessary. I mean, you got to make better decisions than that. So
no, and it all goes back to what The Miz said on Talking Smack Tuesday night. Smartest man in wrestling, but we'll talk about that later. Sasha, if she wasn't so reckless, I shouldn't say reckless because she doesn't injure anyone. If she wasn't so careless about herself, she would still be the champion. That's fucking all on her. That's all her fault. So she can live with that. And who knows?
Sasha, she's been injured kind of frequently, and the truth is she's not looking at this point like she's going to have a very long career.
No, and she's 24.
Yeah.
That's stupid. And,
yep.
Which is why The Miz is the smartest man in wrestling. AJ Styles pinned John Cena clean. My match of the night. A new megastar is born. And Cena did what he had to do before he goes off and tapes American Grid for a couple months.
Yeah. This was exactly what needed to happen.
Of course.
Right? I mean, because honestly, when you look at the people that beat John Cena, they generally don't get a leg up on him. They don't win the feud, and they don't beat him clean. Period. End of story. And even AJ's other win, and we were reminded by JBL about that, was not clean, right? So, I mean, you generally don't beat him clean, and you generally don't win a feud against John Cena. He really, in the big picture, doesn't put a lot of people over when you consider the overall feud. No. Now, AJ Styles, this was exactly what needed to happen. My critique of the match is going to be it was too much. This was like, what, with the fourth match on the show or something? I mean, it was like mid-card match, not a title, and they had the best match on the fucking entire show.
Yeah.
And so then you've got hours worth of matches to come that can't possibly top this. It is like the AA off the top rope, it completely buried John Cena's finisher. I just thought they went too far with that kind of a crap. I didn't like it. But a great match.
Yeah, the kicking out of finishers was way too much. Oh, dear.
Because how are we ever supposed to believe that one AA in a standing position, not on the top rope, will ever beat anybody who's a good wrestler? And if they can't kick out of it, that kind of buries them at this point.
Mm-hmm. Well, nothing you can do about it. At least Styles won the feud, and it carried over into SmackDown. Gallows and Anderson lost because of the return of Big E. I thought this was a misstep. The club should have won, and They take out the Dudley Boys. I don't think they know what to do with the club.
You think? I mean, this is like, if you were a fan of Gallows and Anderson before they became a team in WWE, and you saw in particular in New Japan Pro Wrestling, which
Don't watch them now.
People probably saw them the most because nobody watches TNA. They didn't see Aces and Eights. Sorry, Doc. So I mean, but seriously, I mean, it's like they have completely booked these guys so bad it's embarrassing. I mean, these are two talented guys. They should have been tag team champions already. They've had a couple of real ideal times to do it, and they just won't do it. I think it's so ridiculous at this point. I can only assume that the reason they're not winning the titles is because Vince McMahon is pissed off at Demolition because he's being sued by both or at least one of them. And so he is determined to make New Day break Demolition's record from their title lineage. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's like they have all this stuff to have a match, and then Gallows and Anderson win by DQ, so they don't win the titles.
Yeah.
And Big E returns. He suddenly returns and attacks them. It was like, this was like a Raw segment. What the fuck? This is the second biggest pay-per-view of the year.
Yeah, I know. You know what? That's not a crazy theory either. That could be true. It's scary. It's very scary. All right, this match. Let me get the other shit out of the way first. Roman Reigns, Rusev didn't take place. Roman Reigns just looked strong the whole time. That was a fucking waste of time.
It should have been. They had the match at SummerSlam for 26 minutes, like they did a Raw, and then they had this blow off, whatever the fuck this thing was. They should have had that on Raw. That should have been the go home show segment on Raw, and the 26-minute match on Raw should have been at SummerSlam. It's not rocket science.
No, it's not. No, that was awful. Nikki Bella returned, taking Eva Marie's place. Nikki Bella came out a really nice pop. I'm really glad to see her back. I like Nikki Bella a lot. She's worked so damn hard. And Eva Marie's entrance was fucking amazing. They're crushing it with that gimmick, even when she's gone. I am so glad they're booking Eva Marie the right way by not booking her at all. It's a catch-22. Brad, I'm going to vacation with Big Mark to the British Isles. The stress is too much. Too much. All right, so I want to get to the last two matches last, and I know Big Mark wants us to talk about the crowd hijacking because they're dickheads and the match of the night. So what was your match of the night? Because I know it wasn't one of the last two we have to talk about. I give it to Cena and Styles. Yeah,
it was Cena and Styles, clearly.
Yeah, and there it is again. You know what? Give Dean one thing. Cena may be the quote-unquote Hulk Hogan of this era, sort of. But Cena is a way better wrestler than Hulk could ever be. And maybe that was on purpose because he didn't have to wrestle Hulk, that is, really.
Well, it's a totally different time. Now, keep in mind, Hulk Hogan did decent work in Japan, but as far as in-ring performance, see, when you say wrestler, I disagree because a wrestler is more than just a fake fight. But when you talk about an in-ring worker, which I think really is what you mean.
Yeah.
Yes, John.
Yeah. And then, all right, so, yeah, match of the night we got out of the way. So, all right, Finn Balor wins the Universal title. I'm going to ask you three questions. Question number one, did you think Finn was the right choice?
No.
And this is before his injury, mind you. Was Finn the right choice?
No, I don't think so.
Do you like the title belt design?
No.
You think the fans are fucking stupid?
Yes.
Okay, I got a yes out of you. All right, talk about the Finn and Seth match was good because I think there was one finish kicked out of, and that was the pedigree, I think.
Yeah.
So it's like match. Well, the match quality, it was good. I like the match in general. It didn't go on for too long. It wasn't like an indie wet dream either. I thought it was very well put together.
Yeah, I mean, we know Finn certainly knows how to do a drop kick. He did about 30 of those during the match. Here's the thing, right, with the Demon King character. I hate that name. But Finn Balor wrestles exactly like the Demon King. Okay, newsflash. So there's nothing special about the Demon King except it's a short Irish white guy wearing face paint, pretending to be a demon, and he wrestles exactly the same. So I would like to see them change it up a bit. This should be a different persona, as I've talked about before. He should wrestle a little differently. He should talk a little differently. He should act a little differently. I think that's what they've got to do, make this distinction. So they're not doing that. I think it's too early for him to be coming in and winning the championship. I think they were trying really hard to appease the Smarks, who frankly aren't growing the audience. And, I just thought that it's too soon for him. Not saying he couldn't have a run with it at some point, but the title. Yes, I think the title is ugly. I do like the SmackDown titles.
I love the color red. I like this. I like the Universal title, so I'm biased.
Well, I mean, it's not the end of the world either. I mean, this is not like something to get in a total rage about where you take over a show.
Yeah, the fans really fucked that up.
People, if you do that, you are a fucking stupid asshole.
Yeah, that's
just the end of the story.
Yeah.
I mean, to take over a show while two guys are busting their ass because you don't like the color or the design of a championship belt, how retarded is that? But WWE owns a lot of that because these are the same people they've catered to time and time again. That's why they put Finn Balor in this position so soon. And they've catered to these Smarks, and these Smarks turn on them when they don't like something. And they got to deal with it. End of story. So they own part of that too.
Yeah, you're right. And I think the big thing that everyone's talking about is Finn's torn labrum in his right shoulder, which is what injury that I have actually.
Oh, you have a torn labia also.
Yes. Okay. Well,
you don't even know what to say to that.
I don't. I don't at all. So I know how Finn Balor feels. It was the turnbuckle bomb, but on the floor in the barricade. And what people don't realize is that Finn should not have wrestled after that. They should have called the match. However, he popped his shoulder. You can see his shoulder dislocate. His clavicle was sticking up where it connects to the rotator cuff in the shoulder. It was sticking up. And he popped it back in and finished the match. It was another like 10 or 12 minutes left in that match to begin with. So big props to Finn for, being a badass and toughing it out and finishing the match. Or not so much. And you idiot, you shouldn't have finished it because you only hurt yourself worse. You can look at it both ways. But was that Seth Rollins' fault? Now, there's one very good point, and it's that when Finn took it, he torqued his body to the right and tried to get his arms out to catch himself, which is not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to catch it flush. However, I think Seth threw him awkwardly or too hard, and he did that out of pure instinct. You tell me what you think.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think you nailed it. I mean, he's an experienced worker. He knows how to take a bump. I think this was another case of Seth recklessly throwing a guy for a buckle bomb, and it was very unsure about his landing because of how Seth threw him. And so because of that, he did what he normally would not do in taking a bump and lifted up his arm to brace himself. And yes, that was the action that did it, but he did it because of an action of Seth Rollins.
Yes.
And when you look at it, Seth Rollins has a history with his buckle bomb move of doing exactly that. Fucking hurting people, throwing them incorrectly and hurting them.
Yep.
You know? And you can say, look, once, maybe twice, 3 times. It's like, it keeps happening. You can't sit there and say, has got to be removed from his arsenal. They should ban him from doing the buckle bomb. And I would. Because you got to look at it, and it's like, forget whose fault it is, right? Let's just put that aside. We can all argue that, and believe me, many people on Twitter are going to argue, oh, Seth Rollins is wonderful. This is all Finn Balor. Okay, shut up, Marks. Okay, but look. Put that aside. If a move continues to hurt people, regardless of whose fault it is, it's time to stop the move. That's just common sense.
Couldn't agree more. And, speaking of somebody that should stop is Brock Lesnar, who did not go off script, so don't misconstrue my words, but he did it. He's like Seth. He was reckless. And he thought it was like he had PTSD. And no, I'm not making offense to anyone who suffers from that. It's serious. However, the mindset he was in, and you could see it in his eyes, the mindset that Brock was in when he was in the middle of that ring in the full mount position of Randy Orton was that of a MMA fighter, because he did just that. He was raining elbows down like you would in an MMA fight and caught him above the eyebrow. And that thing is, your elbow to the forehead is like a knife through hot butter. It's going to go right through, and that's exactly what happened to Randy. He had 10 staples in his head. That was not the planned finish. It never was.
Yeah, and just think it all happened because Randy said that China looked better on Playboy than Sable.
Yeah. No, but seriously, like, the match was like okay. It was fine. There should have been interference from Bray Wyatt to further a feud with Randy, but whatever. Or, Goldberg was never coming out, you idiots. That was never happening. Like, Jesus Christ. I can't believe anyone actually thought that would happen.
Can you tell me why this match was the main event of SummerSlam?
Because it's Brock Lesnar.
I mean, they are taking up permanent residence on this guy's ballsack. They're all on his nuts.
And he won't be back
kind
until
of
January.
pathetic. Yeah. Where he'll beat another full-time talent and fucking squash them.
But yeah, that just, he went too far. That's it. And that's it. So,
Now, you know what I think they're doing with Brock Lesnar?
what's that?
They're having him beat people so badly for one reason and one reason only. Brock Lesnar is going to lose to Roman Reigns. And it's probably going to happen at WrestleMania 33. I'm not even joking.
Shut up.
I think they're setting him up so hard because he's going to lose to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 33.
Well, you heard it here, folks. You heard it here. Our thoughts on SummerSlam. It was cool. It was way too long, though. 4 hours sucks. It sucks a lot.
No show should be that long. It was way too long. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
The fans, they were exhausted. They couldn't even cheer because they were just so damn exhausted. I mean, they were there for, like 6 hours. The pre-show was 2 hours.
Yep.
That's too much.
Way too much. Way too much. So on to Raw. Hit or miss, and we saw it at first. Finn relinquished the championship, and a mini tournament was crowned, or a mini tournament was announced to crown a new champion, which is happening this coming week on Raw. I don't know what other choice they had. I would have given it to Seth to build heat, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
No, I agree.
Okay. Well, that was easy. Bayley made her debut as Mick Foley announced the hottest free agent of the new era. So she will be on Raw, and Nikki is on SmackDown. Was that the right move? But Bayley got a nice pop, and it was in Brooklyn, so, I mean, that was obvious. But I like the reaction that she got. It was kind of nice.
Yeah, man, I thought she should have been on SmackDown.
But Nikki's on SmackDown. Why both?
Nikki's not going to be full-time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She's not going to be a full-time performer 24/7. And so they need a mainstay, a full-time performer with the big name, and, because the SmackDown women's division is weak in star power compared to Raw. So I thought this really would have helped them even the playing field.
Well, either way, I thought SmackDown, or I thought Bayley had a nice debut. Match with Dana was pretty good. She carried it, of course, but it's something that I expected, which was fine. Okay, so before we talk about this, Stephanie McMahon said in an interview that they are going to incorporate LGBT storylines on WWE programming. So first of all, let me ask you what you think of that. I think they're going to do something stupid and get really bad political backlash in the mainstream media. That's just me, because they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, do you mean something like this?
Why on earth are you doing this? Because I like big, sweaty men.
I like big, sweaty men.
Who approved
Was that
line?
their first attempt at an LGBT character? I mean,
That actually gave me a headache.
Look, I
That
think
gave me a headache.
it's going to be a disaster if they do this. I really do. I think, it's just, I just can't see a script going through Vince that's going to be good on something like this.
No, but what was his name? Johnny fucking Dick Nuts? I don't know his name. Johnny Dick Hands?
Knockout?
Johnny Knockout is a porn name, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, I think Ray Rice hired him once.
He taught Ray how to punch, right?
Yeah, that's it. So, moving on.
Suck it, Ravens fans.
Yeah, you all suck. The Dudley Boys left WWE. It was kind of weird. I was expecting a Bubba Ray heel turn, but apparently they could not come to a contract negotiation. They were very close, but they didn't come to an agreement, so they actually left. And the Shy Big Shitheads came out, and I noticed something, that Epico is not actually that bad on the mic. He can talk pretty naturally. It was reassuring. They're like, you should come to Puerto Rico, and then I'm like, no, you can't drink their water. It's a U.S. owns them, so technically you're not even out of America. But they don't understand. No one knows that. And the Dudleys were like, fuck you, this, that, and the other thing, and they started to go to town on the Shining Stars, and then the club came out and beat them up, and that's the Dudley Boys' departure from WWE.
Well, it was just so weird because I get them wanting to put a team over as they leave, and it was confusing at first, but this actually was them legitimately leaving.
Yep.
Their contract was up. They couldn't come to an agreement on a new deal, and so they just, mutually parted ways amicably. I mean, it was, they could return at some point, but it was just so weird, right? Because Gallows and Anderson are in a deal with the New Day, and all of a sudden they come out and attack the Dudleys for no reason. It was just so weird. And then they let the Dudleys beat up the Puerto Ricans. The Colones.
Oh, jeez. The shit. Come to Puerto Rico.
Weird, but whatever.
Come to Puerto Rico, a territory of the United States.
We're in massive debt.
Yeah, I know. Raw ended with Roman Reigns being strong, and you idiots thought he was out of the main event for a long time. Shame on you!
Yeah, Vince is pulling the wool over your eyes. He's not the heavyweight champion, folks. He's just main eventing every fucking Raw.
Yeah, you morons. You thought it all. No, that was never going to happen. Roman Reigns is his boy no matter what. And he is in the Fatal 4-Way with Big Cass. Now, fucking riddle me that. What the fuck is he doing in the Fatal 4-Way for the title?
Man, Vince can hardly keep his erection down for Big Cass. He'd like to stick it in. He'd like to stick it in his big ass. I think.
Let me spell it out for you.
Fucking you and me.
So,
oh god, it was so stupid because it's just
it's Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns, Big Cass, and who's the other one? Seth. So that was Raw. Raw was a creative disaster. They were not done writing the show when the show started. Just to put it into perspective for you. What do you do after that? You know what you do after that? You have a better SmackDown.
Yeah.
This is what happened. And I still haven't watched SmackDown, so these are spoilers for me. I was going to watch it tonight. Yeah, I know. SmackDown. Well, I heard of the what?
They debuted a new set.
Yeah, I heard. I still have to see it. I heard it's pretty cool. So that's something good.
It's great.
All right. Okay. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Daniel Bryan introduced what?
Yeah. They introduced the Women's and Tag Team Championships.
So early predictions. Women's tag is probably the women's probably gonna be Becky, and the tags are Alpha, right?
I'm not convinced it's going to be American Alpha first.
Really?
It could be the Usos.
No, they fucking suck. No. No, it's not. It can't be.
I know you would love that. You're a big Usos mark.
Well, Rikishi is. Yeah, it's their dad. I don't give a fuck. Your dad should be honest with you if you're awful at something. Seriously. Yeah. Oh, that should have been your quote of the week. Rikishi said his two sons, the Usos, are the most naturally talented people in the business. Hit yourself with a shovel again or something, because you are way out of line. You stupid idiot.
Oh boy.
It's awful. All right. Well, we'll see. When are they going to have a women's and tag champs?
So they started on this past week's episode the tag team matches.
Okay.
So they're having a little mini tournament.
Cool.
And so the championships I would assume will be decided on pay-per-view at Backlash.
Oh, that'll be fun. Okay.
Or as I'm calling it with the new main event, Back Cash, because that shit is money.
All right, and I know what that is. Bray Wyatt, what he should have done at SummerSlam, did on Smackdown. He interrupted Randy Orton. That's been rumored for weeks. It'll be cool. Bray better win, or I'll be fucking pissed again.
Bray needs to win. He needs to win.
He has to win a match. Shit. Sooner Bray Wyatt is the biggest jobber in WWE.
Yeah, he needs to win this match, and it's like Orton has been around so long; he's so established. It's not going to hurt him.
Yeah, absolutely, no question. After Stephanie McMahon fined Brock $500.
He probably wipes his ass with that.
Shane McMahon is angry at Stephanie's response to Brock giving him an F5. I said it's a long way from over. Shit, it's going to be Shane and Brock at Royal Rumble at Hell in a Cell. And instead of throwing him off the cell, Brock's going to throw him up through the ceiling. It's going to be horrible.
I don't want to see this at all.
I don't either. It sounds stupid. It's not realistic. Whatever. None of it's realistic. Anyway, it's wrestling. Oh, jeez. It's making me tired thinking of it. But the last part of SmackDown was great. And I'll let you talk about it since I didn't get to see it.
Yeah, we had a very good match between Dolph Ziggler and AJ Styles. And Dean Ambrose was great on commentary again. Although I felt like they were going a bit wacky with him earlier. They went back to Wacky Dean, where he's got the big cowboy hat on and the poker chips and whatever. But he was good on commentary here. And he needs to be serious Dean for this feud with AJ. But Dolph and AJ had a good match. And, AJ won. He's the number one contender. If Dolph had won, it would have been a triple threat for the title. Dolph lost again. No big surprise there. He's kind of done at this point.
Yeah.
And so it is what it is. Maybe he'll take a break. I think I heard he got a guest spot a show where he's doing something with Fox News or some political deal. So, I think maybe this was for him to take time off. I don't know, but he's kind of done as a main eventer already. So, anyway, AJ and Dean kind of had a square off outside of the ring, and Dean kind of buried AJ's height a bit, which was funny. But I think this is going to be really good. I'm really looking forward to this. I think this is going to be far better than any title match that Raw is going to have.
Easily. And does AJ win the title?
That should be very interesting. Now, I'm going to a live event on the 10th. The pay-per-view, I believe, is the 11th, the next night.
Yes,
but
that's correct.
But and I've been saying for quite a while on our podcast that AJ Styles and Dean is probably going to be the next title program for Dean, and it is. And, so that's going to be the main event the night before the pay-per-view I'm going to see. So I'll kind of get an inside look, I guess, a preview of the pay-per-view the next night.
Yep, absolutely. Keep us posted. So that was SmackDown. Good show. I still haven't got to see it, but sounds like a good show. And I'm excited to see where it's going to go, especially what happened in news and notes. And let's save the best for last, shall we? We do have a little bit of breaking news Wednesday evening because we're recording this a day early. Michelle McCool, the Undertaker's wife, had skin cancer, and she had it removed. I believe it was yesterday or the day before. There's no update on her condition, but go on her Instagram page, and there is a scar there with stitches, and she had holes cut out due to skin cancer. So, that's all. Just keep her and her family in your thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if Undertaker wrestles again. He's supposedly said he was done.
Did he?
Yeah, he supposedly said he was done. So can Vince lure him back for another WrestleMania with a lot of money? Who knows? But I think he's Of course, it's like couldn't he have done a little more to put people over at the end? But anyway, we'll see.
Well, hey, it's not Taker calling the shots. It's Vince. Remember that.
Yeah, but Taker has actually had a lot of input on his streak in particular.
Oh, I know, and he wanted Randy Orton to break the streak. That's beside the point.
Yes.
All right, so we're saving the best for last here. The debut of Holy Foley. I didn't see it. Is it good? I doubt it.
Man, I got through a few minutes of it, and I only did that because it was directly after the show, right?
Yeah.
And so the show was already on, and it was a matter of me actually getting up and walking the 21 feet across my living room. and so I was in the middle of doing a couple other things, and it started right away. And so I got to a few minutes of it before I turned it off, and I was just like, okay. I think the last part I saw was Mick was shutting the door in the clown's face.
Oh, good.
And so, of course, I guess that was nice. But I think he's going to be heavily featured in this, and it's just a very strange family. I mean, the one newsworthy thing I think that came out of it is Dewey Foley said that he wanted to try writing, and this is a guy who's in his mid-20s and doesn't have a job and lives at home off of his parents, and they're pressuring him to find a job finally, and he gets the job at WWE, and Mick asked him why he wanted to be a writer, and he said because it was easy. How interesting was that answer?
Very interesting. Shit you're not supposed to say. You're just not. So Sasha Banks is out with a back injury, like we mentioned earlier. No one's surprised, and it's all her own fault. She'll be out. I think they're advertising her in about 30 days, 29 days. Just giving her some
about
time.
30 days.
Yeah. She's going to heal for some nagging injuries. There's a lot of good stuff here. Finn Balor, torn labrum, like I said, same injury I have, out 4 to 6 months. Since he's a pro athlete, do not be surprised if he's back by Survivor Series in November. It's a long shot, but don't be shocked. More or less, he'll be back for the Royal Rumble. No worries. He'll be back in January at the absolute latest. It'll be fine. No one's going to forget who he is. He's going to be okay. And he's injury prone, so Vince won't lose faith in him to be stable, which is also good. He just can't wrestle Seth anymore. Seth will hurt him. So it can't happen. Just can't happen ever again. I want you to talk about the Brock and Jericho situation because it's just weird. I don't know how else to explain it. It's very weird.
Yeah, it's very weird, and I have a theory I'm going to introduce that nobody has talked about.
Okay.
I do. And I mentioned this on Twitter, and I think a few people were interested in hearing this, so I'm going to. But let me just talk about the nuts and bolts a little bit first. We won't go into too much detail because everybody has heard about it by now, and you don't want to hear my voice repeated, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so essentially they had a heated backstage conversation after the match of Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar, where Randy Orton was busted wide open, had in a pool of blood. And Chris Jericho came to the gorilla position and confronted them, in particular Michael Hayes, asking if that was the planned finish. Michael Hayes kayfabed him. Essentially, Chris Jericho was worked by the WWE. And how stupid is that? For them to work one of their workers for some weird game. I mean, this is just so bizarre to me. This is one of the most bizarre parts to me, right? And so they won't tell him that was the planned finish. So he's maybe sticking up for, the other talent, whatever you have it. Maybe there's another reason, which I'll get to in a moment. But Brock Lesnar comes back while he's saying it's bullshit, blah, blah, blah. They get into it. They shove each other, and Brock, some variation of him kissing Jericho and, either hit me or kiss me, bitch, or what, something which was another very bizarre moment. And it was broken up, and Triple H was involved. And he was told it's a work. Okay. So it's a very odd situation. I love that Chris Jericho stood up to Brock Lesnar. He was willing to do that. And to stand up for himself, for the other talent, even to management. I think that's great. So kudos to him for that. I mean, he got worked, and it's unfortunate because he got worked into a reaction that maybe wasn't necessary unless you consider a additional viewpoint, which I'm going to talk about right now. You see, years ago, Chris Jericho had a match with Batista, and they bladed, or they caused each other to bleed, and Chris Jericho was fined heavily. Batista, I know, was fined $100,000. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they did this. It was not the planned finish. It was something they felt was right for the moment, and Vince chewed their asses out and fined them big money. So is it that he's sticking up for the talent and he wants to make sure Randy Orton is okay? Or, I submit to you, maybe a little part of Chris Jericho says, you know what? This is fucking bullshit, because if this isn't the planned finish, they better be doing something about this, because my ass got chewed and I got fined big time when I did this.
I don't hate that. I don't hate it at all. In fact, it kind of makes sense. That, or there were some, homophobic slurs, and Jericho didn't like that very much. But I do like.
Well, Brock Lesnar, yeah. Well, thank you. It's something that, it's strangely enough, nobody's talking about this as a possibility. It's like they don't even remember this.
Well, they're never gonna. Why would Hayes kayfabe Jericho? Like, fuck you. Like,
he's
why?
a dickhead, man.
Yeah, he is.
They really stirred this reaction up, especially when they see Jericho's pissed off. Why not just say, look, this is the planned finish. It was a work. Don't worry about it. Randy agreed to it. It's fine. We appreciate you checking on him. Seriously. They fueled the fire by kayfabing Chris Jericho and working him into a shoot. That's exactly what they did. They worked him into a shoot. Brother?
Hey, I can't disagree, right? I just can't. I can't. But last but not least, we really wanted to save this. Talking Smack has turned into must-see TV, honestly. I heard Carmella. It was a double turn. Carmella attacked Nikki Bella. Weird, but fuck yeah, cool. I want to see that. 2 weeks ago, Daniel Bryan was mocking the Universal title. Thought it was a stupid name. And he's not wrong. But, it's Talking Smack's kind of cool, right? Well, Bradley, I know you were really excited over this, and I was too when I saw this at 11:30 last night on my phone. The Miz and Maurice were guests on Talking Smack with Renee and Daniel. And there was an altercation. Do you have the clip? Do you want me to bring up the clip?
I have the clip. Let's play the clip.
Yes. This is what the Miz
said. Let me tell you about a coward. Let me tell you about a guy who tells his WWE fans, the people that he loves, that he will be back. He promises them. I promise you, I will be back in 1 year's time to claim this title. But you didn't, Daniel, did you? But I'm the coward. I'm the one that doesn't love the fans. If they would let me come back, I would come back. Oh, you would? Yeah. You would. You love that WWE ring. You love being wrestling. You love being in that wrestling ring, and you love wrestling, right? Well, why don't you quit? Why don't you quit and go to the bingo halls with your indie?
Okay, I think you need to calm. That's not what this show's about.
GM, have this. Thank you very much, Renee. This is a great show, but we're talking here. I need to talk to you real quick, because the fact is, you're the one that calls me the coward, but you're the one that doesn't get in the WWE ring again. No, don't you walk away from me, Daniel. Don't you walk away. I'm the one that loves the fans. I'm the one that loves everyone and everything. You're the one that gets up and walks away every single time. You're the coward.
Woo. Well, I mean, and there was a little part before that too. The reason Miz said
Yeah.
that was because Daniel said he thinks he wrestles like a coward, and he's like, "Oh, really? I haven't injured. He has not been injured in 10 years, and yet he has a 10-year career and he's still going and he's still in his prime."
This was probably the greatest promo Miz has ever had.
Easy.
It's the greatest promo probably in recent WWE history.
Since Punk.
I mean, this was excellent. It had people questioning, is this a shoot? Is this a work? Anytime you can get a smart fan to think that, you've won.
Yep.
Right? And so that's exactly what happened here. It was hot fire, man, because they let him do a work shoot. Don't tell me Miz didn't feel that way, right?
Oh, yeah.
They let these guys come out, and they let these guys have the freedom to say these things, and they were both okay with it. This was not some shoot where nobody knew anything. But Miz talked about how he felt. It was raw emotion. It was relatable. And it was damn good because of that.
And that's... I keep saying this. The Miz and John Cena, I'll add John in here too, and Randy even to an extent. Those guys are the smartest men in wrestling. Their bodies are their money, and if they don't have their bodies, they're not going to have any more money. And it just makes sense. You have like Finn and Seth, and Brian. Well, he used to be Neville, Zayn, Owens. Sometimes, these guys are so focused, and Sasha Banks is like criminal number one here. They're so focused on putting on these 5-star matches with these flippity doos, as you like to call them, and Harris maneuvers.
They're marking out for themselves, putting on these fucking epic fake fights you'd see in a movie. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is pro wrestling.
Yeah.
When your body is broke, so is your fucking bank account, pal. Newsflash.
The Miz, like, truly, he opened my eyes, and I'm like, he made me think. The Miz made me think. Said, holy shit. The Miz is so smart. He's never been injured in 10 years. He can wrestle another 10. It won't even matter. Like The Rock. The Rock can still go. He can go full time still. Talk about a smart wrestler. Jeez. Triple H, if he just wasn't injury prone, because he was, with a quad or what have you, his knee, he wrestled the same style. The Miz could wrestle till he's 45. And the fact of the matter is, let's take Daniel Bryan and Miz's career. First of all, Daniel Bryan's career only lasted, I think, 6 years in WWE. That's bullshit. It should have lasted at least 10. But it's all on him. It's all on him. Yeah, and then the Miz, who's been there since 2005, I think, 2006. Yeah, that's right. 10 years. It's 2016. So their careers. The Miz has been over a consistent period of time more than Daniel Bryan by doing less wrestling and more working. That's how it should be.
Well, of course, this is pro wrestling. This is not a shoot. I mean, it's a no-brainer, and I've been talking about this, on social media and on our podcast forever. But this is not rocket science, people. I mean, Daniel Bryan, with all those problems he knew he had, and every night he's doing a diving headbutt off the top rope onto what are essentially padded 2x4s. I mean, come on. Use the fucking head you're destroying.
Yeah. If they weren't marks for themselves, Chris Benoit would probably still be alive today. He's just one example. Daniel Bryan would still be wrestling for everybody. It's sad as a wrestling fan to see these things happen. One guy that could wrestle till he's in his mid-40s is Shinsuke Nakamura, because he doesn't need to do a 480 splash into a McTwist or whatever the hell. He doesn't need to do that, because you know what? He's exciting while not doing everything else they have to do. So, in all reality, these little guys, here I go. These guys,
I'm rubbing off on you.
Not in the fun way. These guys who, like Neville, Zayn, Finn, Seth not so much anymore. They rely on their moves rather than their entertainment value. So let's be quite honest here. Nakamura is going to be more over than all of those fuckers. I'm just hypothetically speaking. There's a reason Cena is more over than all of them. He worries about working rather than wrestling. And yes, Brad, you've been saying it for a long time now. Hulk Hogan wasn't beloved because of how technically sound he was. Think of those over wrestlers of all time. Hulk, Cena, Stone Cold, The Rock. Those four. Bar none. If you argue, you're just wrong. Period. All four of those guys, none of them were technical masters. I mean, come on.
No. Look at Austin's moveset. It was essentially a kick, a
Punch.
stunner, and maybe a couple of other moves. It was really very basic. But you know what? That's all he needed because he had all the other elements.
Yep. Yeah. It's just it's interesting. The Miz that was his like Austin 316 moment. I hope they capitalize on that. I really do.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what they do on SmackDown. How do they follow up on this? Damn. This Talking Smack is really good. It's must-see TV. It's probably the most must-see thing on the network right now. And, capitalize on this stuff. Follow up on it. They put it out on their social media, but, it's really been a popular thing amongst the hardcore wrestling fans. Do something with that.
Yeah, you have to.
With it.
You absolutely have to. So that's gonna do it for us. A lot to talk about next week. We'll be back, normal time, normal schedule, and it's gonna be wonderful. So I have to ask, Brad, where can we find you on the Twitter machine?
You can find me at the VOTV podcast, pissing off people on Twitter. Follow me, tweet me, quote me, whatever you do on the Twitter. Let's talk about wrestling. That's fun. I'm not a snob like 70% of these other podcast hosts. Have fun. And maybe I'll offend you or piss you off. That's actually quite likely.
And you can follow me at Fisher Wrestling on Twitter, Wrestling News Hub on Facebook, and JohnFish3 on Twitch.tv. You know what? We're gonna go out and let the Mrs. theme song play off because we came to play and so did he.
And there's a price to pay, Daniel.
Time
to get down on your knees.
No. That's the line waiting on Seth Rollins' door. So we're just gonna let it go at that. We'll see everyone next week. Come to play. You better.